Continuing our conversation on the ancient Chinese sage, brilliant mind Confucius. On book 7.3, we're going to continue. The master said, "Failure to cultivate moral power, failure to explore what I have learned, incapacity to stand by what I know to be right, incapacity to reform what is not good, these are my worries." Now, what I like about Confucianism right here is that he's saying it's a failure if you do not try to, cultivate your moral power, and that you need to explore what you've learned. It's not good enough to just, okay, I learned this. I'm not going to meditate upon it. I'm not going to build upon it. I'm just going to leave it at that. No, you need to go beyond that. Remember, self-examination is important. And so then he goes, incapacity to stand by what I know to be right. So if you know something is to be right, you need to have that conviction, right? If you see someone abusing a grandma and you say, hey, I know that's not right. Stop that right now. Or let's say in this context, you see an abuse of a feudal lord on a peasant. Stand up for the peasant. Don't let them get abused. You know it's not right. Now, the Taoists would disagree with this. They're extremely passive to the point where it's almost annoying. And I know I might get a lot of hate for that, but I'll tell my bias now. I prefer Confucianism than Taoism. Okay? Someone trying to live a Taoist way of life, a strict Taoist way of life in 2019 in a first world country that is technologically advanced and has certain laws and requirements and social responsibilities, that form of living is inconsistent. And I've met a lot of Taoists and they run into a lot of problems. So the proof's in the pudding. So I'm just letting my bias, as every academic should say, I am coming from a biased perspective because I like Confucianism more than Taoism. So pay attention to that nugget. So he says that you should cultivate your moral power and that there is such a thing as morality. Okay? Then he says that we should try to reform what is not good. So that means trying to fix social ills. Let's say, I'm going to make up an example. Let's say somebody stole some bread. The penalty for that is you get both your feet chopped off. You say, hey, can he do some community service instead? Do we have to chop off his feet? Is that really the most productive thing to do with this person who stole some bread? Really? I mean, that's not good. So let's say someone pushes for legislation and policy, right, that says, hey, we're not going to do that anymore. So Confucius wants you to reform what's not good. Yes, multi-relativists will chime in right now and say, what is the good? Okay, this is not a discussion on Plato. This is not a discussion on that. We're coming from a Chinese Confucian perspective right now. And okay, let's take it back to ancient China. Let's say you see a soldier who's raping a woman. You should stop it. You know that is not good. You need to stop it. A Taoist, on the other hand, by their own words, would say, you can't control it. Let go with the flow. Allow this. What is good? What is bad? Like, okay, you can clearly see that's wrong. Do something about it. Don't be passive. Take action and try to make things better. So, I really enjoy that. And then he openly says, right, these are my worries. And those are legitimate, decent worries. Okay, so on 7:16, he goes on to say, the master said, even though you have only coarse grain for food, water for drink, and your bent arm for a pillow, you may still be happy. Riches and honors without justice are as to me as fleeting as clouds. So without justice. So without honors, without justice. So what is honors? So with dignity, virtue, justice, as in there isn't an unequal exchange going on. There is not a victim and the aggressor. So making sure it's on balance. And Now, so he's saying that even if you don't have the fanciest food, even if you don't have the best bed, even if you don't have the best wine, you still can be happy, right? So, and then he goes on to say riches without honor. So let's say a corrupt emperor, he got his riches because maybe he allowed his soldiers to massacre an entire village and take their gold, take their jewels, and that is how he got rich. That is not honorable, and that was an injustice, right? So he's saying that you should not assume that you are more poor than somebody simply based on material objects. That is how I interpreted it. So you may not even have a pillow, right? He says your bent arm for a pillow, that might be all you have. But you can still be happy. You can still be happy. He's not saying in the Taoist way where I just have to exist in the void and no, 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 no. He's just saying don't think that materialism is the only way to be happy, and don't think that happiness can come from dishonorable and things that in acts of injustice. So that you should not think that that is a way to get happy. Now, in a modern culture, let's just say in my own culture in America, corporate America would really disagree with this. They would tell you, you want that nice Maserati? That Maserati is going to make you so happy. You're going to get so many bimbos with big giant boobies. You will get all that. You'll be so happy. Oh my God. So you know what? You're going to, like, let's say in banking, like, oh, you approve that loan for that person you know who can't afford it. Approve that loan, make that quota for your boss, and then you'll be cruising along. You know that family can't pay. You'll know they'll pay interest on it, and you'll know you'll ruin them. Oh, it's dishonorable, but you're going to get those riches, man. And oh, man, that guy down the street, he has a Maserati, he has a Bugatti. Oh, I know once I get to that level, I'll be just as happy as that guy. Oh, yeah, chase it, chase, compete, consume. So this is something that is very relevant today for modern readers, right? Do we live in a system where that type of belief can manifest and survive? Or are there institutions that had to have formulated themselves to stamp out that type of thought? That is how I take it. It really, like, with these, you may be thinking, well, there's so much there, how can you extrapolate from that? That is the beauty of philosophies, because you analyze it, you interpret it, the words form these images and thoughts in your mind based on your own personal perspective, and you will extract some sort of truth that will talk to you from a guy who's been dead for hundreds of years. You know, that's the beauty of studying the past and then connecting it to the future in the now. So Confucius is very relevant today, and I really enjoy his work. What do you think? Do you think that you can get happiness from being dishonorable and committing injustices? And if you say so, yes. For how long? Temporary, most likely. Studies have shown that money doesn't equal happiness. And that I read this research paper that said after $70,000, there's diminishing returns on your happiness, and that it's more about family, it's more about healthiness, it's other things than just, oh, I have a Corvette, oh, I got the newest Cadillac, oh, I got the best rims on my car. Okay, I'm using a lot of car analogies because my culture in America is obsessed with cars, right? There's a lot of obsession with vehicles, even though they don't run that well. Even though, yes, I know they're Italian cars, but they get imported, and American businessmen, American capitalists really enjoy their car collections. And many of the celebrities these days have 10, 20 bunch of cars, so I'm using a car analogy. And many of them still struggle with anxiety and depression and loneliness and need to have medications. And it's a blatant, like, okay, marketing companies are selling you this. Business schools are not exactly bringing in the human aspect of business. They're looking only at numbers. They're not thinking of the social cost of their policies and their actions and the way they're training their staff, right? So you know, these are very relevant. What do you think? How would that apply to the culture you're in now, to the aspect of your mind? Which part do you connect with the most?